Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I'm David Lammen. I'm one of the editors at Chinese Books, the fiction imprint of Sea Publishing. We are gathered today to listen to a discussion about one of our recent titles, which is Jia Pingwa's Sojourn Teashop. And we are delighted to welcome one of the translators, Nicky Harman, who will be having a chat with the host of this afternoon's event. And I'll say a few words about Nicky and Vivian shortly. Before then, I'm under a 3-line group to mention our supporting organisations who've made this event possible. This event is part of the Chinese Literature Readers Club programme, and we're grateful for their support. We're also grateful to Arts Council England, whose NPO funding made tonight's this afternoon's event possible. That's it, so very short. So we introduce the guest and host for this afternoon. Nicky Harman is a well-respected translator of Chinese fiction into English, and occasionally she moves into the fields of non-fiction and poetry, but she mostly focuses on fiction. And when not translating, she is a keen promoter of contemporary Chinese literature for the English language reader. She is a trustee and a co-founder of Paper Republic. Paper Republic is a registered charity that supports translators and promotes contemporary Chinese writing to the English language readers. When she's not doing that, she's a prolific writer of blogs, attends literary festivals, and works with Leeds University Centre for New Chinese Writers. Among the awards she has won are the 2020 China Special Book Award and the 2013 China International Translation Contest. Our host this afternoon is Vivian Ni. Vivian was born in Zhejiang, but spent most of the past couple of decades in Seoul, Shanghai, and London. One of her most recent roles was manager of the Guanghwa Bookshop, the leading Chinese bookshop in London. She sees herself as a bridge between East and West, and like Nicky, is a champion of Chinese culture and specifically Chinese literature. I'd like you to welcome them.
Wow, thank you so much, David, for your nice introduction. And I would like to say special thank you to Nicky for being here today with me. And if you recall, Nicky, you published 3 Jia Pingwa's books. And I come to visit. And I've never missed any of the events with you because we were first starting our book, Happy Dreams. We came together at Guanghwa Bookshop in 2017. And then for the second book of Golden Rings, which is also published by Chinese Books, we did a very nice book in China together. That was quite nice. And then now we're here today talking about the 3rd book. So I guess, before we start, Mr. Jia Pingwa actually very kindly recorded a video just before the audience today. So we will be playing this video and listen to him after this.
他们当时相对都一直在我变不一样的生活，但是在这个当下中国的这个场域的话，中国的从社会对立下，他们也是有背景精神对的，没有教育我们以前都在位置上，以前的都是你活自己，他们子女包括吃饭，还有小姑娘都是这些事物，就是你一种。比如在小说里面写到他们一直在等待一个我的实现，但是到最后这个始终没有出现。所以这一些女性的生活，也就是当下中城市的中下层的生活的水平吧。特别是在中国实在是2020年是吧？实在是我还是受到这个欢迎吧。在去年是去年。然后那个国际是这个3座名字的就特别是离这个俺们也是吧，英语以后呢，办理了英文以后呢，当然在这儿特别感谢译者，像这个译者都是之前像出版这本书，出版社表示自己特别的感谢，特别感谢。这个希望更多的业务都能修。在此呢，就这次活动是做这次活动吧，确实圆满。谢谢大家。
And I would like to extend my thank you across the continent to Mr. Jia Pingwa as well, for taking his time out to record this video and also giving us a very concise idea of what this book is about. But I want to hear more from you, Nicky. How is you translated 3 books so far? You have you actually have going to publish 2 of his books this year. We'll talk about it later. How is this book different from the previous 2?
I think the main difference is it's got, I mean, the cast almost entirely of women. There's one man who plays a fairly important role, and one young shop assistant who's a man. All the rest are women, and the entire book is about the lives of these women, their thoughts, their struggles for happiness, their struggles to run their businesses, their friendships with each other, and with men, and it focuses entirely on these women. All the other books, I mean, Broken Wings, for example, it has a very important female protagonist, but she is a woman who's been kidnapped and raped and is, although she's quite a feisty character, that in the narrative she's a victim. She's a victim because but this is in the Sojourn Teashop, the characters are the women, it all focuses around them. So, and I think that's quite a bold experiment. And I don't think Jia Pingwa has written any other books which are peopled entirely by women. So, yeah, and it's very interesting from that point of view. It's interesting anyway.
I certainly agree. For a writer, it's certainly to step out of the comfort zone, to write about a product, to build a protagonists of their opposite gender. And the one is actually already hard to build, and not to mention 12 in this. What did you think of his writing, his understanding of female characters, or his writing skills they had between these 2 books?
It's a fair question. I could say, well, two things, I think. One is that his portrayal of the women is entirely convincing. There was no point at which I thought, oh, a woman would never do that, or would never say that. But on the other hand, I suppose inevitably, some of the characters are much more fleshed out than others. So some of the characters, like the main woman character, she really guides, just as she guides the group of women. She is the main character in the novel. And you, as a reader, I think you feel more invested in her than in some of the other female characters. And she's there more, she's more important. She's not the only one, because there's Eva, the Russian woman, Eva's friends. And of course, there's the man as well, Eva. But I think she's a guiding light for the novel, if you like.
I want to move on to talk about more about the characters later. But to start with, I'm curious about the title of this book, 暂坐. And how did you come to decide on the English title, which is very loyal actually to the original title, but also I suppose I want to know the views of the English readers here, the Sojourn Teashop. I suppose this title comes across very posh and very special. It's quite eye-catching in a way.
Yeah. I mean, it's sojourn is not a word that most of us would use every day. So, Sanzo, I toyed with the idea of calling it the sit a while. I thought sit a while sounded like a kid sitting on a party, so was not very appropriate. And I sort of all these different words which could express a tea shop where you sit for a short time. Although, of course, it wasn't really that kind of tea shop because it was selling tea rather than serving hot tea. And in the end, the Sojourn Teashop seemed to have the right ring of being quite hot, and also being quite, it's a high register word. It's a word which says we are educated, we are specialists, we know everything there is to know about tea, and so on. So, but also, does it express the idea that in this world we are all sitting just a very short while? The Buddhist idea of impermanence? I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if it would suggest that to the English reader, but I would be happy if, by the time they've read the novel, I'd be happy if they got that idea that we're all sojourning for a short time, which is, part of part of the idea that he's putting across. So I don't know. I would have been very happy if someone had come up with another title, but in the end, the Sojourn Teashop seemed kind of fit.
That's very interesting. I suppose the Chinese title 暂坐 didn't deliver this kind of pun, which is both the name of the tea shop and also the underlying meaning of the impermanence, suggesting the impermanent nature of life. Another thing interesting I always notice, interesting feature I always notice in Jia Pingwa's works is that he actually, I suppose, I never talked to him, but I suppose he paid a lot of attention to the names of the characters. And a lot of the names seem to carry some sort of meaning. Did you notice that yourself? And how did you deal with name translation in English?
Yes, but not particularly in this book. The names of the characters, we actually kept them in, the women themselves, we kept them in pinyin. And in other novels, like Happy Dreams, Starting, there were very few characters and we translated the names because it was so obvious that these were their nicknames and they were intended to be funny, rude. It would have been silly to leave them in pinyin. I had to make up funny, rude nicknames. So it entirely depends which novel Xinjiang, absolutely huge, 700 pages, about 100 characters. And so we decided with Dylan King, who I translated it with, that there were far too many characters to have in Pinyin. No reader was going to be able to tell the difference between one character transcribed and another. It would just be so confusing. So we actually translated all the names. And this is not something that literary translators always do. But I think it's, in fact, when I started, I was a purist. It was Pinyin or nothing. But then I gradually came around to the idea that you have to be a bit flexible when you're translating. You have to think of the reader. If you've got 100 characters, how are they going to tell between one Wang and another Wang? You know, it looks the same. So it's something that I notice on Facebook sinologists group, that sinologists who are translating, they talk a lot about. It's not, Pinyin is not amazingly wonderful. You could say it's 90% good, but there are problems with it. So I'd like to consider all possibilities when I'm thinking about names. And if it seems like the author, as he said, Jia Pingwa, specifically chooses names, which means something. If it seems right, then I'll try to choose names in translation that mean something.
I was just speaking to David earlier. I thought it was a brilliant idea to add the character list that you found for the book. But actually, it helps me a lot. When I read the English edition, yeah, when you have so many characters, yeah. Actually, there are a little bit more explanation about in translation and how you spell some of the minor characters, for example, and in the translator's note written by your co-translator, Jun Liu. Yes, and I really suggest all the readers, if you buy the book today, please read the translator's note. There are a lot of details, very interesting details. How did the co-translation experience go?
It went very well, and I've had good and bad experiences with co-translation. This one was seamless. One of the most important things is how translators work together. I mean, I've also worked with Helen here, who's sitting in the audience, and it all went pretty smoothly and seamlessly. Leopold is in New Zealand, so we coped with a very big time difference. But I take all my hats off to her. I could not have done the book without collaboration. It's slightly different when you have two native English language speakers. You can work differently on a book, like as I did with Dylan King on Zhejiang. With Sojourn, it was a bit different. What we did was, she translated the first draft. I then polished it. In the meantime, she had done an amazing amount of research onto them. In this case, there was the Buddhist elements, the tea, the translation of the tea culture, everything that goes with that, the different names for fans, and so on. Then I passed it back to her and she said, oh, well, you haven't included this and this. And I said, yeah, but it doesn't fit into the sentence. So we had this kind of quite fruitful debate as we went along. And in the end, we had each read the translation of about 3 times. And so she contributed a huge amount. I mean, on the most basic level, if you're collaborating with anyone, you need to trust someone to do the work and to do it at the times that you've agreed. So yeah, as I said, I'm a big supporter of co-translation, especially when you've got one native Chinese speaker who can produce so much interesting extra material and thoughts and research. So that was the way we did it.
Yeah, what touched me a lot was when I read her translator's note. She mentioned that the amount of research work done behind the scenes was actually that was visible to the readers, actually just the tip of the iceberg. So like we really should take our hands to talk to translators for the amount of the work you put in, because maybe when you read the book, you don't realize like how much time they've spent to just research on the name of a single object or a single type of food.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I really, really respect, lots of respect to you guys. Yeah, from myself. One of the things I found a lot of critiques in the Chinese internet talking about this novel being like being like they're comparing this novel to the Chinese classic, the Chamber of
Yeah.
sorry, let me think, the Chamber of Dreams. Yes. What's your view on that?
Well, I mean, I love Red Train Dream or Story of the Stone, as it's called in a different translation, by Hawks and Minford. I love those. I've actually read it twice in translation, in their translation, which I love. I must admit, I didn't really think about that when I was translating Sojourn Teashop. For me, this book stands on its own feet, and it's interesting, especially for readers who have deep background knowledge of other writers in China and other writers over the centuries in China. I didn't. I mean, I'm prepared to accept that people can see similarities, but for me, it was important to translate the book as it is and for what it is.
I think one of the things that the people are talking about the similarity between the classic and the social Teashop is that there are 12 main characters in those works. Do you have any of the is there any character that impressed you more than the other?
Well, yes, the main character. We've already talked about.
Yeah. But before you start, so I actually designed a little interactive session for everyone today. So what I did was, as a reader, I found some clues about these characters or some sort of references in the book relating to them. I made them into sort of flashcards with image on it. So I'm going to ask Nikki to look at the flashcards and I guess, for example, you want to talk about war, and if you can you guess which flashcard represents them? It's all my fault.
I can see on the face.
The reference about Hanro came from a paragraph where Eva brought some Russian metro. And she said, oh, that's amazing. They're in five. And then Eva said, that's like you. You're the five. You're the five. You're the five versus you don't have the five rows. Oh, can we click on the rows to see if that's the correct answer? Oh, yes. What's my students? I'm so sorry. That's the main female character, and what do you like about it?
This very novelist has to present a female character. I mean, a character in different aspects of them. Has to describe their good moments, their bad moments, the things that they do, the ways that they think. And I think she is a very well-rounded character. And also her dilemmas, she's running the tea shop. She's dealing with her friends, she's dealing with the workers, she's dealing with the local bureaucracy. She has a very close relationship with Iwan, the man. And yet that is not at all straightforward. There's a time when she thinks that he has invited her over for us to have drinks at night and can possibly turn romantic, and she gets all dressed up turns out to be something completely different. It's that one of their friends has died. And I think that is so much real life, you know, you get the signals completely wrong. And she does, she goes over to see him. The meeting turns out to be about something completely different, and there's another man there in it, or very serious business. I love the way that she has these good times and bad times, and it's very interesting that in her t-shirt there's an extraordinary mural which has been painted in partly because she wants it there in the tea shop in the upstairs room, partly because she hopes that this Tibetan monk is going to turn up, and that's going to be a major spiritual experience for all of the women. And because this guy never turns up, and we never know why he doesn't come. So it's again, this is life. Things are not clear cut, and I love the way that Pyro's character is not clear cut either.
I can see the reason why you thought the mural represented her.
Yeah, because
it was displayed in her t-shirt.
Yes.
But actually, similar to the living border that you were talking about, who never showed up in her book. There's out of the 12 female characters, there's another character also never showed up.
Yeah.
And in fact, she showed up in a way that's so mysterious that actually she was not supposed to be seen on that day. I mean, you all have to read the book to understand what I'm talking about. Actually, I picked up this flashcard with the mural image. And this image is actually a real Apsara image from cave 296 in Guanghwa Mobile Cave. Yeah, so it's very old, it's very warm. And you can see she's holding a flower from her chest. So you can just
So that must be something.
yes, the lady she actually never kind of showed up.
Yeah.
It was only talked about.
Yeah, just kind of shadowy presence.
Yes. So can we see it? They need to press the actual blood. Yes. Yes. What's her name? Even though it can be, it just was translated into Pinyin. In Chinese, I think Fengmin means to greet, to meet and greet. But you never meet and greet her. Yes. An interesting built in here. Yeah. And you mentioned a lady there, the friend who was very ill and eventually, yeah,
Yes,
ill and
we-
yeah,
saying she does actually die.
yeah, sorry for spoiling. Can you guess which flashcard represents birth? Maybe it's a shot in the song. We definitely should have reversed it.
It's all right, nobody's. Just like the women in the novel.
This is not the fly. This is all genuine, very sincere. We're actually testing. Yeah, I think it might be. No, I see that's not. Oh, no, yeah, she was flower the ground. That's right.
Yeah.
I asked the ChatGPT to draw, and I said, can you draw a summer flower that's blossoming in long, but it's coming to the end of the.
So it's gone yellow, is it?
Yes, and I was also amazed by this person basically being sick throughout the book, and how the other ladies actually took good care of her.
Yes.
That's kind of the consideration they had. You suggested we should read a chapter.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a chapter now. I'm just going to read it.
Yes,
Yeah.
let's do it.
From that chapter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there is a chapter called Yinan, and it's chapter 9, and it's about a woman who initially we don't realize it, but then when she's described, we get the picture. She dresses as far as she can like a man. She has a woman level. She's, rather than saying she's butch, which she never, actually Jia Pingwa never says, we described her as androgynous. And so I'm going to read a bit from Sojourn's chapter. Sojourn spends a day and a night at the hospital looking after Xia. Then it's Yan Chu's turn, and Hairo arrives with her. Xia has cancer and dies a bit. Zhejiang has not shown any sign of improvement after the platelet transfusion. Instead, she spikes a fever and develops a hacking cough. Her friends are distraught. They debate whether to try traditional Chinese remedies again or even to transfer her to another hospital. Hairo has a long discussion with Zhejiang's doctor and relays the doctor's words to Yinan and Nianshu. Apparently, the TCM treatment had no effect, and worse than that, it meant she missed the optimum window for chemo treatment. This is the best hospital in town, and a transfer would be disruptive. She could deteriorate, especially now she has a fever. Illnesses are karma, that's what I heard, says Nianshu. What you did in the past, you pay back in this life. It's like a prison sentence. 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, you have to do your time. Then things will get better after that. But poor Zhejiang is having such a hard time. And she puts her palms together and intones Amitabha. We could use the Buddha's blessing right now, agrees Hairo. When's the living Buddha arriving? Asks Yinan. About 3 weeks' time. Have you booked a hotel? Let's book the Peach Blossom. I can get a discount. How many are coming with him? How many rooms should I book? 5 for now. They go back into the sick room. Zhejiang is asleep. One foot is exposed, and they see the edema. Her skin is translucent, and the slightest pressure leaves a dent that takes a long time to disappear. Hairo tucks in the quilts and says quietly to Nianshu, tell the nurses to disinfect the room twice a day. If Zhejiang needs the toilet, don't take her there. Give her a bedpan so she won't get a chill. Her hands and feet are swollen from the IV, so cover them with raw potato slices. Try not to let visitors in. If anyone insists, get rid of them as quick as you can. Make a note of her condition every hour and tell the doctors if you notice anything unusual. Call me straight away as well, but don't tell Mrs. Chi. Mrs. Chi is Zhejiang's mother. And having issued her instructions, she leaves with Yinan. Downstairs in the lobby, Yinan goes to the cashier's window to pay a further installment. This is a very good picture of what happens in a Chinese hospital. Actually, we're quite surprised as users of the NHS. She's hurrying to the toilet when Hairo stops her. It's such a fine day. I'm thinking of taking Zhejiang's mother and son on an outing to the Qinling Mountains. Can you join us? I don't mind going without sleep for 3 days in a row, says Yinan, but the furniture shop called last night. The new stock has arrived, and I need to go and check it. Also, I better book the rooms at the Peach Blossom as soon as I can. Hairo leaves and finally makes it to the ladies. On her way out, she bumps into a woman hurrying in. The woman glances at Yinan and hesitates. Is this the gents? It's the ladies, Yinan tells her. The woman eyes Yinan again, then scrutinizes the sign on the door before going in. Yinan knows she's been mistaken for a man. Get yourself a pair of glasses, she mutters, annoyed.
very funny. And it's a brilliant portrait of Yinan.
Yeah.
Oh, which is, by the way, she is supposed to be the tree. Her name is actually a type of tree.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you think about Nanmu tree, it's quite solid. It's used for furniture. It has actually the furniture idea, and then it's quite upright. So I think this the details mentioned here is so interesting that you don't have to actually describe what she looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. She met a woman in the 80s, and the ladies thought she went into the genius. She was mistaken for a man. So it's very
I
interesting.
think it's a very nice painting trip, and also everything you wanted to know about Chinese festival. A very good one as well.
Yeah. Yes. Before we move on, I might allow you to talk through the flash card. So, the second flash card is very interesting. Because what I did is, can you guess what that may be? It might be the hardest one for. It's not the young man, it's one of the women. Yeah. Not the man, male character, representing women.
No, no, I,
I think I just found a very subtle reference. I thought it's a very interesting element in the book. It actually represents Nika.
oh,
He told Eva the story why she stayed in Xijing is because she thought she met the father who's like she thought the father who's actually the reborn father.
oh, yes.
Yes. So what I did in that picture is that I basically typed the paragraph of where you describe the father sitting under the tree, mending the shoes, the father of the hair, you had a telling ChatGPT and the tell ChatGPT to exactly ChatGPT is not my business. Yes. The second one is a asparagus fern. It's a pop asparagus fern. Actually, it was also mentioned in a translator's note. This is supposed to be representing um Yan Yan Shu.
Yes.
So she basically carries favors from men and to get her things done. So when but that's actually very subtle in the text. When she walked into a man's office, she saw this asparagus fern growing 2 meters high with five supporting stick. So that's kind of indication of her personality. Number five, the image level five is also ChatGPT one. Remember, this is Shang Qiyu. So she has the name that actually suggests something to do with her gossip, her words, because her name is Xiang Qiyu. She owns a heritage heritage energy tank.
Yes.
That she owns
It's like,
it's sort of a spa thing, isn't
in the center.
yeah, and then she actually because of her talk, a lot of the travel happened. So I told ChatGPT to portray someone who gossipy. The last one I really want to talk about is the hot pot restaurant owner Yu Pingwen. So the hot pot restaurant owner, but she is a manager of photography.
Yeah.
So in the book, there was a whole paragraph about the photos. And the photos actually went through the history of Xijing, which is supposed to be based on the Xijing. Yeah, and from just after Qing Dynasty to modern times. So this is a picture I found online, very close to one of the descriptions. It's just after the founding of the PRC. This is a Xi'an the Zhonglo. They have the base from the German Mao's image on the clock. So I specifically found this image in the actual black type.
It's a really nice photograph. All the different things.
Yes.
Photographs of Xi'an back then.
Yeah, it's a shame we can't go through all that today, but definitely buy the book and then I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Do we have more enough time? Maybe just when we go through with you about the
I understand you were going to ask me that.
yes, because that's so much food that I have no idea what it is as a southerner.
Yeah.
And for example, there is a
Yes. Jing.
actually I looked like in a dictionary. The character is actually pronounced as a
Zhenjiang. But I looked it up on YouTube today,
yeah.
and I saw the recipe.
Yeah.
The woman was saying Jingle.
In Shanxi dialect, it's actually pronounced something some of them can correctly Jingdao or Jingdao. Yes, yes. I think that just shows how much research you do.
It's a great joy to translate Jia Pingwa because he does love his Xi'an food.
Yeah.
And Xi'an was famous for its street food. And uh, different novels, different solutions to that. If you have a huge number of food names, you have to try and make it. What I tend to do is to use a combination of pinyin, like I think your examples are good. Totomo, I think we used pinyin, but we also called them more bun. So we might have said Totomo bun. So you're using a translation and a pinyin. And Jingdao, I can't remember. I mean, Dao is obviously steamed cake.
Use the word cake
Yeah,
in a context. But you can Jingdao, but you also say it's the cake. Yeah.
so it's I really would. I mean, in an ideal world, all my Japanese novels would have QR codes where you could put your phone at the page and see pictures of foods, and then or even a video of how to make it. Because it's so nice, but it's very difficult to convey in words. But it's very important. But I mean,
We'll go to dinner afterwards.
you know,
So we need to talk about more in depth with the Xi'an friends, with the Shanxi. And then I think I will make it my last question here. And I know that I noticed that there are a lot of expressions in novel that is probably more easy to be understood by the Chinese, but it doesn't make sense in English. Or maybe the analogy they use, the Chinese use, may not seem familiar to the English readers. I give you some examples since we have so many Chinese readers here. For example, there's one character in Li Ho. She basically tried to get her money back from something, from the hospital president or something like that, the hospital chief. And then the guy said, it will take 4 years for me to pay you back in an installment. And she said, 这得4年呀，一头牛用勺子炒着吃了。
So Chinese, it would take me that long to eat an ox with a teaspoon.
I think you did a brilliant job. You didn't change it a bit, but you made it understandable.
Well, it's kind of, yes. So I put in, I can't wait that long, so that explains the idea.
Yeah.
You might as well give me a teaspoon to eat an ox, would also take 4 years. So, I mean, sayings are a really nice problem when you're translating. So you can find ones which have an exact equivalent in English. And so long as it really is an exact equivalent, you might want to use that. In other cases, it's so obvious what it means that you might as well translate the saying and use it as it is. And the reader will smile and think that's kind of a nice way of explaining a process which is so long drawn out, it would never end. So how long would it take you to eat a whole roast ox with a teaspoon? I would like to think. So I did that there. Well, I wouldn't necessarily do it in all cases. Sometimes it would be so convoluted to try and translate the saying and convey the meaning that you'd have a whole paragraph and it wouldn't sound like natural dialogue. So then you might have to sacrifice the vividness of the saying and just make the dialogue sound natural. And so, translation is full of these decisions. You try to get the maximum in, but you also need to make it sound like someone is speaking, if it's dialogue, and so on.
I found another example which you basically translated directly. But I would actually ask the opinions of the English readers today here, because the context is this guy, the main guy, Yi Guang, he wrote. He's a kind of a calligraphy, so he writes like calligraphy works for these women. So, for example, during the year of monkey, he wrote a word monkey, and during the year of chicken, he wrote chicken, and during the year of dog, the women didn't want the word dog. Is it understandable to the English readers? I would like to know, actually. I'm very curious. Like, why would they be thinking, why wouldn't they want the word dog?
Yes, I mean, I say some people might think, what's wrong with having the character for dog? Other people would think, yeah, but we know that dog can be a word of abuse. Especially in 18th, 19th century English, a dog. A dog is a bad person, young mum. So yeah, I mean, I think that's something that you have to hope people will pick up. Clearly, they didn't want it because they didn't want a dog on their fan, because it might have been taken as a term of abuse.
The last example
Yeah,
I
that's
found
difficult.
was when I read Chinese, I was thinking, no way that it could be translated and made it easily understood to the English readers, because the Chinese says, so basically the ladies are having a conversation, and 陆怡可说,能错, so I think one of the ladies are get a kind of blind date of some sort, and then 陆怡可说能错着也好嘛，要不咱们真成了洋人女将。上句语说能女将，陆怡可说都是寡妇嘛。Because all these 12 women were married. So, thinking, wow, 洋人女将 equals to 寡妇. I think it's Chinese can kind of grasp it.
Yeah.
And how do you deliver it in English? Kind of not moving away too much.
But that's really difficult because there's so much information behind it. You just can't put that in. So I looked it up and I found out who they were, and I called them the Yang family widow warriors. Warriors. And okay, it doesn't tell the reader who these widow warriors were. If they were interested, they could find it out on Wikipedia. But I suppose the fact that widow is juxtaposed with warriors is enough to tell them that there is a historical story. And if they want to do more research, they can. But yeah, so what did I have at the end? Yeah, it would be nice to see them become a couple. So we're beginning to look like the Yang family widow warriors, group of women who have no men around. So yeah, it's oh, the ones in, yeah. What do you mean? The ones in the Song dynasty, they all ended up alone. So I managed to pack in quite a lot of information.
Yes, I think all you did is add the word widow and you added information in Song dynasty, which was really I think it's explained really well.
Balance. I mean, they're chatting. There's an awful lot of chat in this novel. An awful lot of people talking to other people. You do have to make the dialogue sound like someone might actually have spoken.
Great. I want to leave some time to the floor, to the audience. And but before I move on, I just want to mention that you also actually have another Japanese book just published, which is the Qingqiang Shanxi opera. It's this thick.
Yes. This is for many bedtime reads. It's 700 pages.
Yes. So
Amazon crossing.
So I just want to mention that and hope that.
But also this one is great. You want something shorter? Really, it's a really good and thought-provoking, and it's very good. And of course, the one that got me started on Jia Pingwa, Happy Dreams.
Lovely. And could we, does anyone have any questions? So we may have about 5 to 10 minutes for questions. Hi, thanks. I had a question about translating dialogues and keeping the rhythms. Because I noticed that in the original novel, Guanghwa has a very specific way of creating the rhythm of the dialogue, because he uses dialects and he keeps a lot of sentences quite crisp and short. So how do you balance out conveying that meaning and keeping that rhythm into a translation?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it raises the thorny problem of dialect. And a couple of things to say about dialect. First of all, translators from all languages into English raise this problem constantly. Because, for example, Latin America, a lot of novelists use Spanish dialect, and then you have French and Francophone Africa, all different dialects, and many other languages. Very famous authors have written using dialects, and it's a perennial problem. I think a not very good example I read is a very well-known Inspector Montalbano, Italian, very popular in translation, as a head of station, a fairly low-level police station, who speaks entirely in Sicilian dialect. Now, what on earth are you supposed to do that with that? And the translator has made the guy speak nonsense. So then you have no respect for him because you can't understand what he's saying. And I don't think that's an entirely satisfactory way of going about it. And my view is, personally, I don't have a dialect that I can draw on. I speak very standard English. I was brought up in the west of England, and there's a problem with using British dialects to represent Chinese dialects in translation. Because it makes you think that, your Chinese taxi driver might actually be a Glaswegian taxi driver from Glasgow. That wouldn't be right either. But I do think that a lot of American translators can use American country language, and that represents dialect quite well and can be really lively. But it's not something I can do. So I have to leave that to the American translators to use something that represents the rhythm of the language. All I can do is make my language as lively and as natural sounding as possible. Well, sadly, I basically lose the dialect. That's it. I'll do it like that. Yeah.
Very much to you here again. Compared with the books on Berkeley Wings, right? That book illustrating a lot of miserable women who live a miserable life or sad fortune.
Yeah, you mean all the victims in the village?
Yeah, they are
the kidnapped wives. Yeah.
That in certain Teapots, you see many good, image of successful women who are really kind of outstanding figures in modern China, actually. So when you are translating the book like this, would you specifically focus on the word which, the books are totally different, but they are focusing on women, right? So do you specifically try your best to show the word fiction, how to use words to illustrate or to portray a kind of women image for English readers? Especially from
you said the word the fiction.
was that trustee?
Yeah.
Yeah. 会在这个地方的时候会有意识的付出，毕竟 they are totally different group of people.
Yeah.
Really, really different.
Yes, I think I let the story carry me along. I certainly would not want someone to read two translations and say, oh, we know it's Nicky Harman who translated it because it sounds exactly like her. That would not be right. It would be, This is one
Yeah.
character, very different from these characters. So yeah, you have to inhabit the story in the same way as the writer has inhabited the story. You also have to inhabit the writer's mind to a certain extent so that you can visualize the surroundings. But as far as the characters go, you have to inhabit the characters and you have to then produce language which is appropriate to that character. So I would hope that people reading this would not spot similarities because that is in the diction, in the language that I've used. The language should be quite different. So that's what I try. I mean, I have actually noticed one or two translators from different languages, not really from Chinese. And you can spot that it's the same translator because once or twice I've realized they've repeated words that sound different, that convey the same meaning between different novels. But then authors also repeat themselves.
Yeah, that's right. I actually we also originally the key is doing that. It's not translator's job. But anyway, for example, we are some words possibly gossip. Same gossip appear to different books. Do you use the same words with things like that? Because these two books present almost two totally different pictures.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't know China, I mean, for readers, they never imagine this group of people can appear and say, I am in China, but they are. So that's what we say. Is a great writer as well.
Yeah, if it's a thing, I think you can use the same word between novels, like a sanlunzhe, a three-wheeled vehicle. You can use the same word. Of course, by this time, there are hardly any sanlunzhe. They don't like it. They're still there, but our characters drive cars. So, well, it's really interesting. When I started, I used to keep a kind of mini dictionary where I would try and collect words for things and geography in China and refer to them. When I went to translate another novel, maybe different author, but the same thing, as I would go back and see how I translated it first time around. I find that less and less relevant now. It just is not particularly useful.
Do we have time for one more question? Or should we? Yeah, I think we're having We're just gonna take one more question, obviously. Sorry. Thank you so much for both of you. I came from Yorkshire today to have this afternoon team in London. Charing Cross Library. Thank you. And just want to ask one quick question. So I noticed that all the books you have translated for Jia Pingwa, the cover page has not got one single Chinese character. Obviously, the original book will be in Chinese. So I just wondered the thought behind that. Would that be to promote the sales or bring the spread away some people in China? So what are the thought behind it? I mean, that could be the publishers.
The publisher is all about selling the books to readers. So we might have new Chinese characters. And we not only put Chinese characters in the books, we also have graphic novels. And as we know, we have 12 men and women characters in this book. And one of them died in cancer. So you can see the kettle, the teapot. Yeah, the teapot. One is not. Yeah. You see? Well, in Chinese, we say man has a teapot, woman has a teapot. Okay? But in this particular book, because this is representing all very driven, very successful businesses, so we convert this instead of doing 12 teacups, we did 12 teapots. So this is really good. And also, obviously, we like to bring some kind of Chinese image into the book. It's different from we call it creative writing. Some people, doing a novel about China. And originally, the book produced in English, right? So that is making a whole difference. Say this book actually, because of the translation, is not direct word-to-word translation. Okay, so people have to know this is coming from this book originally. All right, and also I do agree with Vivian. All the characters, Jia Pingwa have a meaning to put into the his main character, for instance. Sorry. For instance, this one. The main character is called Hu Bie. And Hu Bie, we know it's from a capital to grow into a pretty sort of like, also in Chinese, Hu Bie is representing love. Okay. And this lady would like to, in her dream, she would like to she's coming from very rural countryside, and she wants to immigrate to city. And so in her side, she thinking herself as caterpillar, and later on she can becoming butterfly. So that is why Jia Pingwa gave her the name of butterfly, right? But life is not planned as hopeful. So this is what they spoke about.
That's what.
Yeah, and this one we communicating is paperback, but with hardback, they also have some image, Chinese 菊花, because again, this is not direct translation. If you translate 菊花, what do you choose? I mean, to be fair, the Spanish and French translations, I believe, did translate it. 菊花 is the extreme flower. Extreme flower, yes. But really, I was so weird. And I'm really, really happy, we have this problem with, because she basically, in half of her transformation to becoming from a caterpillar to she basically been sold into this very rural countryside, so she lost her wings to fly, basically. Yeah. Cute.
As a promoter of Chinese, translator of Chinese literature, you definitely read our hearts, because we used to, in a bookshop, we had to go through so many titles every year, and we had to spend so much time figuring out what this English book is actually called, which Chinese title. So that's I have to find out. Yes, such a lovely talk with Nicky. Thank you so much for being. Oh, thank you. Proceed to Sunny, and then we have a message from Sandwich Books and sorry, and Arts Council England. Thank you guys. So lovely, sorry, one more thing I want to announce here. And our next Japanese book will coming out at early next year. And one of our translators here, James. Okay. If you recommend to me, there's another valley. Okay. Well, I think end of the day, something like that. It's but we got all the translation, editing, proofreading already finished, right? Yeah. So really, we are so looking forward to the next Japanese book. Yes. England and obviously, they are the largest funded public arts in the UK. Cinema Sticks is part of the MBA program, and we need your help to make sure that we can make a case for greater access for the arts. If you want to see more events just like this one today, we have this QR code second around the room if you see it. So if you just scan the QR, then you just answer a few questions about yourself, you can help make a case for the Arts Council of England to continue to fight for your funding, just like this. Brilliant. Thank you very much.